Civil rights attorney Eva Jefferson Paterson is co-founder and president of the Equal Justice Society and recently co-chaired the Yes on Proposition 16 campaign, a movement to restore affirmative action in California and to eliminate discrimination in state contracts, hiring, and college admissions. She is co-chair of the California Civil Rights Committee, or Coalition rather, CCRC, which she co-founded and previously chaired for 18 years. Eva was also previously the executive director of the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights of the San Francisco Bay Area, as we heard earlier. As a 20-year-old student leader at a time of turmoil, Eva Paterson was catapulted into the national spotlight when she debated then Vice President Spiro Agnew on live television. Dubbed the peaceful warrior for fostering nonviolent protests in the aftermath of the 1970 shooting of student demonstrators at Kent State University, she was named one of Mademoiselle's 10 Young Women of the Year, featured on the covers of Jet and Ebony magazines, and called to testify before Congress. It is my honor this evening to introduce our final speaker of the evening, Eva Paterson. Eva?
Hello, I see people going, yay, Alice, so I will say that as well. And I'm scrolling through, seeing lots of familiar faces, so I'm really happy to be here. I need to say, though, and don't freak out, Alameda County Bar Association, that the remarks I'm going to make now are totally mine and are not attributable to the Alameda County Bar Association. I see people going, oh, no, what you going to say? When all through my life, I've wondered how people survived during World War II. 4 years in America, longer for Jewish people in Europe and Britain, British people. And I just wondered how they could survive. But I realized yesterday that we just went through something really similar. This is the first time my shoulders have been down from around my ears since June 16th, 2015, when Trump glided down that escalator. Think of what we have been through in the last 5 years. The day after he was elected, Dylan Roof went into Mother Emanuel Church and killed 9 Black people who invited him into prayer. You may also recall that the people who arrested him took him to Burger King before they took him to jail. You know, if that had been a Black person going into a church killing white people, he would not have been taken to Burger King. He probably never would have made it to the jail alive. And juxtapose that treatment with what we saw on January 6th at the Capitol, people being escorted away, selfies being taken, people being taken down and helped down the stairs of the Capitol. So we have lived through hell since June 16th, 2015, which happens to be my birthday, so it's stuck in my mind. Think of Latino children in cages. Think of COVID-19 being called the China flu. Think of all the things we've seen. There are good people on both sides at Charlottesville. People with guns and nooses and Confederate flags allowed to just waltz into the Capitol. You know, if that had been a crowd of Black and brown people, they probably would have dropped a bomb on the Capitol. So I see some people out there who were my students, and you know that I could talk for a long time. I'm a magna cum laude graduate of the Fidel Castro School of Public Speaking. So 5 minutes, it's like, what? So I've trimmed and trimmed and trimmed. I wanted to tell you all kinds of things like the deal that Holly
and then I went at 5.
Hello. The deal to steal the election that Senators Hawley and Cruz cooked up was modeled on the Hayes-Tilden Compromise from the 1870s, which ended Reconstruction and took the federal presence out of the South. I don't know if they're just dumb or if they knew what they were doing, but there are all kinds of things that happened that got us to this moment, January 21st, 2021, the 21st day in the 21st year in the 21st century. It's auspicious. So rather than talk about how we got here, what I did is I boiled it down to 4 things that I think we all can do to make racism not so prevalent in our country. The first thing is personal. Many of you are familiar with the concept of unconscious bias, implicit bias. There are 2 stories I would share with you very quickly. One, Nelson Mandela, after he got off Robben Island, was on a plane flown by a Black pilot. When he saw that the pilot was Black, he completely freaked out, thinking that the pilot would not be competent. Then he stopped himself and he went, whoa, I have totally internalized this negative view of Black people. So if Nelson Mandela has internalized this view, I'm sure all of us have internalized negative views or stereotypical views of Latinos, Asian Americans, Native Americans, Black folks. So we just need to own it and not feel guilty, but just really look within ourselves to make sure that our stereotypes about various racial and ethnic groups are not influencing our decisions. There's a study that was done where they, and many of you have heard this already, they had a legal memo. There were 7 errors in each memo: syntax, reasoning, spelling. They told half of the group that the memo was written by a white person. They told the other half that the memo was written by a Black person. The group that was told the memo was written by a Black person found more errors. I don't have time to go into it, but when I heard that, I went, wow, I wonder if I do that. All of us need to think about how profoundly stereotypes impact our decision-making. Personal. Okay, let's take this to the friends and family level. I was talking with a friend of mine from high school. I come from a military family and we settled in Southern Illinois. She told me that 2 people from our town went to the January 6th insurrection in the Capitol. So many of us are probably 2 mouse clicks away from white supremacists, people who are bigots and the like. And so we need to speak out. You don't want to just jam somebody, because if you jam them up, they're not going to listen. But if you hear racist comments being made, you must speak out. I remember when I entered college in 1967, I supported the war, but I was talked to by advocates. I listened to Bobby Kennedy, and I gradually turned against the war. But when I went to college, I said, the president supports the war, and we must do what the president says. So there are some people who we can get to. There's some we can't. We can't get to the Proud Boys, the Boogaloo Boys, forget them. But there are people probably close to you who you can have a conversation with and talk about racism. The next level is the level of policy, the level of chipping away at structural racism. Although we may not be able to change the hearts and minds of everybody, there has been legislation passed, Title VII, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, things that have changed policies so we don't have to change everybody's hearts and minds. We now have a chance with the new administration, and I'm a Democrat. I guess I'm on my private time right now because that might endanger our nonprofit status. But in any event, we now have a chance to make some changes. Think of everything that went down yesterday. The Muslim ban is gone. We're back at the Paris Accords. There are many, many positive things that can happen, but it doesn't just happen in government. Our own organizations can do things to limit structural racism. If you have people of color in your organization, listen to them. There may be things that you're doing to perpetuate structural racism that you're not even aware of. So be open to it. Maybe if you're the head of an organization, have a policy where somebody can report to somebody else and tell you so people will feel comfortable, but you need to listen to people of color. Some of you are involved in corporations that do things that are not totally progressive racially. Speak up, speak up. The last thing I'll say, because I'm a kumbaya type of a person, is this. I have been going crazy, as most of us have, since the election. We knew Trump was going to do something. He had the nuclear codes. And then some of our worst fears were realized on January 6th. Armed people went into the Capitol. They were looking for our friend Nancy Pelosi. God knows what they would have done with her. They were going to hang Mike Pence. So our worst fears came true. So I'm always wanting to do something. I've got to do something. But what I've realized is that there are people in Congress who care as much as we do who are on it. I don't know if you followed Cori Bush from Ferguson. She's on it. I know I don't need to worry about anything because she's more militant than me, and she's there. But what I was told by my therapist / spiritual advisor is join with other people in prayer. You may not be able to stop Trump, but the energy, and this is me, I'm a left coast new age person, but prayer actually can help. So those of you who are people of faith, let's just keep the faith. We can make things better. We just celebrated Dr. King on Monday. He was a man of faith. So on the personal level, on the friendship level, on the policy level, on the spiritual level, we can do something to fight racism. I had a much longer speech prepared, but I decided I wouldn't dishonor my invitation. Thank you so much for having me here. I see many, many people out there in this Zoom world who I know and love, and thank you very much.